I would like to welcome everyone to the 57th episode of Money Trees. Originality is a sought after trait in art. While I believe there are no truly original ideas, there are ideas that iterate on what came before them to create something spectacular and unique. Today's guest has captured that originality in their work. I remember being mesmerized when I first saw one of the pieces come across my timeline. I am beyond excited to learn more about their art, inspirations, and motivations. We have an animator, artist, and world builder here with us today. TaraMoves is here. How are you feeling today?
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey,
Um,
thank you for coming on. I have a ton of questions, but before I go, can we start with your start? When did you know that a creative career was in your future?
so I always liked making things. I liked making little films with my friends. I had like the oldest version of iMovie on my mom's computer, and would like do little edits of music videos. I remember doing one to Rihanna's Umbrella when I was like 12 or something. And so I always really liked film and drawing, and um, but I didn't really necessarily take it seriously as a practice, um, until I came to animation and discovered animation. I was like, oh, this is film and drawing and everything that I've ever loved. And if I don't pursue this, it's like I feel like I'm betraying myself. So I guess That's how I came to pursue art and to take art seriously. And I think the
Shout out to
second.
the Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, no. Go ahead.
I was saying shout out to the OGI movie. I always it's always funny for me when I look back and see some of the programs that I was using, and I think about how I get upset that my Final Cut Pro or like Adobe is moving slow now, and then I have to think back like, yo, I forget what I used to not be able to do. So you got to appreciate those humble beginnings and how far all of our creative programming has come.
Yes, the technology, the way it grows, which is now funny to be in the art tech space. um, but yeah, and then I guess the second part is just like I was working independently for a long time and didn't necessarily see a path to becoming an artist despite wanting to be, and then starting to work with other people and starting to really collaborate and understand what that meant, and that really like set a path to take things seriously. So
That's really
yeah.
ill. I respect people that can create, I don't want to say in a bubble, but isolated, and they can really kind of, the introverts, I'll say. Not that I'm not trying to assume your personality type already, but just in general, the idea of being able to be inspired by yourself. I don't know. I might be saying this wrong. I hope people understand what I'm getting at. But me personally, I love being around other people and collaborating. To me, is how I get my best creative juices going. Like even this show. Like this show is dependent on me being able to share energy with someone else. To me, I couldn't just have a talk show where I'm talking and it's too centered on myself. I love being able to kind of have that tennis match of that back and forth. And so, really, I mentioned just super excited to chop with you. And this may be a stretch, but I don't know if I can pinpoint art that to me has been as unparalleled as yours. And what I mean by that is I just can't think of anything that it reminds me of or that I've seen like it. And I love that. It's amazing. It's a testament to that originality that I alluded to earlier. And of course, no single person can have full exposure to a space like the arts, but still, it's new to me and dope as hell. How did you like come into your own with this creative animation style that you have?
First of all, wow, what lovely, what nice things you're saying. I really appreciate that. Um, I when I first started animating, I got into rotoscoping, which is the way I create the little dancer animations, and that looks like getting a animated reference video, like doing some things to it to help it loop, and then drawing over it. Um, and it was one of the first types of animation that I learned just in Photoshop. And I was immediately drawn to the process of working from like real references, especially as someone with a background in film. I liked the process of actually shooting things and not just coming up with things from nothing. And then I really enjoyed the process of like sitting with each frame and figuring out what I wanted to highlight, what lines I wanted to draw, and the intimacy that was there between me and the reference footage and the person that was being featured. Um, and so, yeah, I kind of kept doing it. It was like a really fun way to connect with people, to collaborate with people. Originally, the kind of moves animations were a series, like a playlist series where we would where I would meet up with someone and we would shoot something and then I would animate them and they would maybe create a background, or if they were a musician, we'd pick a song. Um, and it was just a really really fun way to connect with people. Um, and it just kind of went from there. And I mean, I think it I think it looks pretty, and I like that realness where each the animation, despite being illustration, despite being kind of like even an abstracted version of folks, is like deeply tied to who they are. That
I
kind of
remember when I saw, and so the piece that I was speaking about earlier was House Party. And the House
mm,
Party NFT came across my timeline, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, oh shit, no, I recognize that person. Wait a second, like they're silhouettes, but they're in this kind of 3D, graphic space, but they're 2D at the same time, but they're moving and it doesn't feel flat. It's like you had incorporated all of these elements. And again, it was just I didn't have a reference point. And I'm sure that it does exist. So I would love to know, what are your direct art inspirations? Like, how did you, or maybe it's not, maybe it's came across, it's completely brand new. I don't know. I would assume that there is artists that you have seen that have like inspired you to get to this point with your creations.
um, yeah, so artists that have inspired me. I mean, I think it's corny to say, but everyone who's featured everyone who's featured in the piece is an artist that inspires me directly. And there's visual references that I use as well, but I'm terrible with names, so I'll maybe I can send you. I was worried. I was like trying to figure out the names of the folks that I wanted to reference, but I've always really liked art that contains like multitudes. Um, Nia Simone on Twitter has a really incredible art piece where it's like a self portrait and she's painting, and there's all these other paintings that she's created um, in the background. And so it's like both the painting itself and then there's paintings within paintings. And there's like a lot of examples of artists that have done that. Um, and then my friend Shelby put me onto this artist who does these really incredible architectural drawings featuring different folks. And I should be able to find their name, but yeah, and then each of the individual people that I've been able to engage with, like in my life, contributes to the overall vision, because if they're musicians, then like that adds a dimension, and if they're visual artists in a specific way. So I know I was listening to your conversation with Amina earlier, and that was such a huge part of like she was such a huge part of or inspiration for the piece that we created together, that is ultimately a painting within a painting in the house party piece as well. um, so just like a lot of different folks and a lot of different visions kind of all coming together, aligning vibrations and like existing next to each other, if that makes sense.
No, that makes complete sense. I love that. Shout out to Amina. Amazing episode. And I'm almost 100% sure on that episode I said that I wanted to reach out to you and have you on the show. So I love that that seed has come to fruition. You've talked
Yes.
about the amazing creators featured in your house party piece in particular. And so you've already mentioned that you've worked closely with some before. Are all of the creators people you're friends with, or are some of them people that you are fans of that you were now able to collaborate with on this piece?
Um, I am very lucky to be able to say both. Like everyone in that piece is someone that I've admired and looked to as an artist and an inspiration, and are people I have the pleasure of calling my friends and loved ones. And that's been so incredible over the course of. I started the project in Oakland, like almost like 4 or 5 years ago, and so some of those pieces go back all the way to then, like aromas and henos, are pieces I created a long time ago, and then folks that I've like just started to form closer relationships with. But that's really important to me in my art, is to have, like, when I first started out, I was like, okay, like whatever, wherever, all the artists, all the inspiration. But as I've kind of come into myself as an artist, I think it's really important to me that I get to showcase um, people I know and trust, especially because part of the Moves project is like visualizing collaborative and creative networks, and building and visualizing community within that. And so I really want to make sure that like everyone in the space is cool and is for the people. um,
That's
yeah.
ill. Talking about everyone being cool in the space. I don't want to pivot too far off of the art aspect of it, but it becomes kind of interesting to me when I think about. Actually, you know what? You mentioned Heno.
Yes.
Heno credits you with introducing him to NFTs and Web3. What was your first piece of exposure that made it click and connect for you that this was a space that you wanted to operate in?
So honestly, I feel so lucky that to have been able to put Heno onto this space, and then to be able to like that, and because that's all come back around. And honestly, seeing him and his journey is what allowed everything to click. Because when I was first entering the space, I really saw the potential. I thought it was so cool. I had like a crypto friend who talked to me about it, and as an animator, all of my artwork had been commissioned, and so it was really really hard to find time or funds to execute my own visions, which is something I really wanted to do. And so this kind of came up as like a way to do that. You know, Beeple had his successes. Um, there's this platform where you can release digital art and it can be sold. Or at the time, I was like, oh, it's a platform. Little did I know. And then it was kind of difficult going to the space. I think that my first reaction was, this is so cool, and it feels like something that would really easily be dominated by the same people that are currently dominating our world, particularly, white patriarchal tech rich people. And I was like really excited about the potential of using the tools to like organize and to, especially so early in the space, to be like, okay, how can we carve out a space and make impact in the space that's not that, when it's so early and when there's potential to do so. And I think that that's like still something we're all actively working on and have succeeded on in many ways. But that was all my like hopes and dreams. And talking to individuals about it, it was like, you as a person who's not a rich white tech man should get into this space because you have the potential to influence it and benefit from it, and it's urgent. And getting back a lot of negative responses to that, um, for all like reasons that are super valid. The environmental impact, that folks just don't have time to explore this technology when life gets in the way, that it's really confusing, that it's gas fees are prohibitively expensive, like all the terrible things about the NFT space, that I was getting as feedback. And that was really, I don't want to say demoralizing, but it was like, damn, like I have a lot of hopes, but I don't know, like, we'll see. And so then to see like Heno be someone who like really took that and ran with it and was like, okay, like let's see what happens. And then him featuring in the Umbadaima gallery, and then seeing his kind of journey at NFT NYC, and then getting to actually go and spend time with folks at in Miami last fall or last December. That really clicked. Like I was there and I was like, oh wow, like this isn't even just about the NFTs as like a mechanism of buying and selling, but it's about the community. There is community that exists that isn't this like terrible thing, and it's happening, and people are building together, and it's real. And I think the IRL, the in real life experience, is what I'm realizing made it really click. And I think that's something I try and be aware of with onboarding and with moving in the space as well, is like uh, everything that it's a technological tool, but ultimately the way things get formed are through real experiences in real life. So
I've been going back and forth on the word community. Let me say this. I agree with so much of what you just said. And so again, I don't want to make it too much about the negatives, but I think that there's a huge perception issue in this space
mm-hmm.
in trying to navigate how we onboard new people, how we keep the artists that are already here motivated. It becomes this insane battle. If you know, and it's wild because they call it gas wars, and you
Mm-hmm.
look at it and it's like most people can't even participate in these wars. What was it, 2 days ago when we had
Mm-hmm.
55,000 ETH burned in 4 hours or however short time frame that was with one of the more popular projects? That is so much, like that is
Yeah.
literal world, not, let me not say world, let me not be hyperbolic, but that is town changing wealth. I'll say that
Yeah,
much. That
absolutely.
is literally, we look at problems that need to be addressed. So much else could have been done with that wealth. And when people on the outside look at that, part of our onboarding has to be, well, how do we explain that in conversation? And how do we say no, that there is a lot of dope ish happening over here? You've talked about it. You've talked about the disparity in the space between the popular projects and the cultural influences that's a lot of the art is having. And I feel like the blockchain's providing these artists with this sandbox opportunity that we haven't had to share our work in new ways. But when you have to battle with the popular projects, I'll say, and I say battle because they're the ones making the most money, so they get the headlines. You mentioned
Mm-hmm.
people, but Beeple is very much the needle in the haystack. That is
Mm-hmm.
not a common occurrence from the art side of the world. Many of these PFP projects, people don't even care about the art. It's about the traits and rarity and all these other things. And I want to quote you really quick, just because I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful comment. You say, I think folks have strong reactions because some of the really gross NFT projects are the ones that are heavily publicized. But there's also amazing culture and community being created. Web3 centers ownership for artists and enables liberating forms of cooperation. That to me, beautifully said. That you can go and look and see some of the, and the crazy thing for me is I always say that some things just aren't for me. That
Mm-hmm.
whether or not, how we feel about them, sometimes those emotions can override the logic part of our brain and we react there. And I like to not even think about that. I'm like, you know what? This just isn't for me. But if you look in the right places, there is amazing shit being built. How do I spend more time in those pockets? And so I'm going to recenter this back onto you, back on the dope communities that you're a part of. The house party NFT we've been talking about is your first Friends with Benefits fellowship project, correct?
Yes.
What made you want to join the FWB community?
Um, I think first of all, I love that you shared that quote. Because that is also that's me trying to convince Dua Sela to join the Web3 space, which I'm still working on because I really love them. But FWB. So okay, so I came to NFTs. I was like, this is cool. Whatever. I want to be an artist. I want to do what I want to do as an artist and get funnel resources from tech to art. See if that's possible for my community. And then I was like, oh, what is a DAO? A decentralized autonomous organization. Is that like a co-op? Is that like a collective that coordinates together? That's so cool. And in coming to like figuring out how I wanted to collaborate in Web3 as well, I was realizing that there's this system where instead of an exchange of funds happening up front, where a musician says, "Hey, Tara, I want to commission you for an album cover. Here's I have $50 for you," and then I have to decide whether or not I want to do that, and then that's the entirety of the value that I get and that they get from the piece. Instead, we can create together and have more say, both me and my collaborators, and then get rewarded at the end. Um, and then realizing that there was like an even broader way to do that via DAOs and cooperative tools, voting mechanisms, all that good stuff that exists within DAOs, and like that was really really exciting to me. Like I think at a certain point I was like, hey everyone that I'm trying to onboard, like forget about NFTs, like just think about it, just think about DAOs. DAOs are crazy. Um, and so seeing FWB as like very much exists as this DAO to look to. It's like really large. They have like a social like a culture mission that's pretty cool. And they do IRL events, and that's my bread and butter. I'm a VJ, so I do live visuals, and so I love physical in person music experiences. And so I was like, this is really cool. And a couple folks, actually three different folks randomly that I knew, were like, oh hey, they're doing this fellows thing. You should apply. Because that was, I mean, I'm not sure how familiar you are, or folks who are listening are, with FWB, but the way to get access to that group or that DAO is to purchase tokens. And right now, the price of those tokens to get full access is like $4,000 or something, which I have opinions on. Um, and I also don't have myself. And so to have that opportunity to be part of the first ever fellowship class where folks were supported in entering the space and we received those tokens for just our participation in the space was really cool, because I think that was kind of my biggest negative feeling about FWB, was like it, even if you're creating a social club and even if you're like a token gate or a financial resource gate, doesn't make for the best collective group of people. It makes for the people who can afford access.
Yeah, financial barriers into your club, while they can quickly lose any altruistic potential you may have had when you first created the idea. And I remember I came across FWB right when they had the token split from like FWB to FWB Pro, and I just
Mm.
didn't understand enough about the space yet. And I'm like looking on Coin Market Cap, like, oh man, is this the right one? Okay, let me go to Uniswap. Okay, let me read their website. And even that, then I saw the price, and I was just like, oh man, I don't know. And I think at that time it may have been $800 or $900 to gain full access membership, and now
Yeah.
that would have been a 400% increase. So potentially a bad investment not joining. But I digress there. You touched on
Yeah.
some really ill points. I think, me personally, I am not fully sold on DAOs, but I don't think that you can ever really be fully sold on any organization. No organizations are perfect, whether it's physical or digital. So I think that there's still a way to come or way to go for me before I can join one, because I want to make sure my contributions are both fair and that it's a long term, I guess, thing that I'm joining would be the
Yeah.
easiest way to say it. Outside of the price, what's been, and not necessarily FWB, but just in general, what's been your number one gripe about being a part of DAOs?
Um, so I would say the token gating. I would say Um, FWB is really big, and I think that that's something that comes up for me a lot in the tech space in general. Is like rapidly scaling or scaling to that extent doesn't necessarily make for the best projects or communities. And so I guess I'm a part of like 4 or 5 DAOs, two of which I've started, which has been really fun. But I know you asked about gripes, but I'm going to tell you about positives instead. um, but like my favorite DAOs have been my favorite experience with a DAO ever has been with Void DAO, which is a organization, a collective founded by 3 individuals, Kai Morton, Lauren Washington, and Robert or Pinpoon. Um, and they do physical or art technology installations at physical events, and they have a very specific mission, and they're all good friends, and they created it out of friendship and out of excitement to coordinate and do things together. And it's scaling slowly, so we're selling vessels pieces as a way to fund the activations that the DAO is doing. There's some other routes we're pursuing as well, but the actual like uh, comings and goings and operations of the DAO really happen among at a smaller scale. So like I think it's like 10 to 20 folks, all kind of leaning into their skills, and we all know each other, and so we're able to like better cooperate and better operate together. And so I think that like where DAOs make this mistake is it's like decentralized autonomous organization. Okay, hands off. We're decentralized. We're autonomous. Goodbye. But I think actually DAOs, well, I guess it's in the name, but collectives don't need to be 100% decentralized or 100% autonomous. I think there's still value in keeping a human element to it, especially because if you take the human element out of technology, technology really easily skews into the dominant, towards the dominant. Like that's an issue that's come up with AI countless times and all this stuff. So I think the worst part about DAOs is actually the decentralized and autonomous part. But the best part is when that's at a smaller scale and it's really just a new form of cooperative that is enabled by uh, token technologies, basically. If that
That
makes
was
sense.
beautifully said. It definitely makes sense. And you have genuinely made me more interested in learning more about more of the DAOs that I've seen. And I think that that is a win right there. I have nothing of substance to add. That was beautifully said. For everyone listening, go check out a DAO. I've
Yeah.
watched FWB from the outside. I've seen 40 Acres close up with Russ and ATM, who was in here, who was doing some work. It's interesting. Oh, he just popped back in. He's probably hearing this live.
Yes.
Anyway, no, you're about to say something though.
Oh no. Yeah, I was just gonna say there's so many amazing DAOs, and I think it's really easy to get caught up in like, okay, I'm jumping in. How can I participate? But the cool part about this space as well, in my experience, is like the things that align feel easy. And so like if you're jumping in a Discord and it's really confusing and there's not clear ways to participate, maybe try, but a good DAO or a good project to participate in will feel like aligned. And I think that's a really cool thing that has kept coming up for me.
You talked about how one of the things that interested you in FWB was the IRL activations and events and meetups. So you are making a name for yourself in the Bay Area Web3 space through meetups. And apparently there's an NFT Oakland happening. Can we talk about what's going on there?
Yeah. So initially entering the Web3 space, my mission was to funnel tech money from over the bridge and from the gentrifiers that have, taken over the Bay to the really incredible decentralized, locally based art scene that produces like such incredible art, but is constantly struggling to find funding. Um, and so that has kind of taken some time, but we've reached a critical mass of artists and creatives of color in Oakland, and from the Bay, creating and collaborating together and connecting with each other, and also working to onboard other artists. And I think that that's that's the goal of the NF Town or NFT Oakland, the sort of IRL activations that we're doing as a DAO, is to just like make sure that everyone's talking to each other, make sure that people aren't siloed, that even if we're not all putting on an event together, everyone knows what everyone else is doing and can support and step in. And so NFT Oakland is a further and broader activation of that. So bringing different organizations together, to create different activations. So whether that's music concerts, art gallery experiences, NFT projects, projects that aren't necessarily in the Web3 space, but that may have a co-op, onboarding experiences, panels, and bringing that to Oakland, that has been operating in a very, I guess, quote unquote Web3 way for a long time, but without the technology and without the money. And so yeah, and working together to put on kind of a bottoms up conference. And I think that that's going to be really really cool, and that's happening at the end of July. Um, so yeah, if you're free, you should come through Oakland that weekend.
I
Because
love the
Oakland,
Bay. Love the Bay in the summer.
yes, it's beautiful.
Love the
And
food.
it's like the premise is that any cool organization that's doing cool things in Oakland, of which there is a long list, you can come through and experience that, um, through Web3 enabled, um, yeah, tools.
There's a restaurant in Oakland, and I don't want to butcher the name of this, so I'm not even going to. Nope, not even going to say it. But it's got me thinking. They ended up having to close, I think, both of their locations due to the pandemic. Because when I was up in the Bay, one was closed, and then I couldn't get like the hours on the other one was funky. Then I came back, and there were no hours on that one, so I believe they both closed. Anyway, Web3 being able to revitalize the restaurant industry through memberships, IRL combinations, got my brain has my brain turning a little
Ooh.
bit. Yeah. But that is a conversation for another day. Can we expect to see you at NFT NYC in 2 months?
You absolutely can. Yes, I will be
Amazing.
there. I will be VJing. I will be supporting Void, with their activations, and I'm also working on putting together a calendar of activations that is going to exist, or that are happening the week of NFT Oakland. Or sorry, NFT NYC. So I'm excited as we
I
get
will
closer.
have to pull up to see some of the visuals live. You know, you have, and it's been really ill because I told Amina the same thing. I love personal websites, and when people put the time and effort into making their personal websites reflective of their personality, haha, no pun intended, but their craft, their career, their art, it just I don't know. It sits very nice with me where you can use you can have profiles on all these social media sites and all of that, but it's you're building on somebody else's land and buying your own domain and making your own personal website, regardless of if you get one visitor a month or 100,000 visitors a month. To me, is I'm always going to support that, and I think that that's ill. Your website is freaking amazing,
Thank you.
and oh, for sure. I'm very excited to see the visuals in person as well. You collaborate with some of my favorite creatives in the space. I'm going to plant another seed and continue this this networking branch. Maybe we can say of Money Trees, where Amina has led me to you, and maybe we can have Heno come on for an episode later on this month. That would be fire, and I'm sure that
Yeah.
I will also get or hear about another amazing creative I need to be speaking with from that. Tara, this has been very, very informative, very, very dope hearing about your approach to the space. Your appreciation for DAOs has reinvigorated my care for them, where I haven't really been into it, but hearing you talk about it, I'm more interested. I'm going to check more out. Um, there are two questions I ask every guest on the show before they get out of here. The first question is going to be, what is your seed phrase? And so, in crypto, yes, that's normally your account recovery key. To
Yes.
me, it's just not a scary enough term where if you're new and you hear seed phrase, it doesn't scream security.
Uh-huh.
And people don't realize, like, yo, if you lose your seed phrase, you can lose access to all of your assets, all of your NFTs, everything that you have in that
Mm-hmm.
wallet. So on Money Trees, we are repurposing seed phrase.
Mm-hmm.
For us, seed phrase is going to be a saying, a quote, a slogan, a motto, a lyric that you live by that embodies your approach to your career, to your art, to your craft. TaraMoves, what is your seed phrase?
Collaboration for collective elevation. And
It's a
also
bar. Keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Please go, go, go.
and many hands make light work, I think, are the which basically mean the
We
same
got
thing.
two. No, I'm here for it. I love it. I love it. You were so ready for that. Those are golden. Wow, that really was a bar. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just like, oh no, wait,
No,
the
you're good.
rhyme to close it out. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
My second question is going to be, what is the price of your one of one Money Trees number 57 note going to be listed for on Zora?
Yeah, so it's listed for 2 ETH. And I'm launching a party bid for it later
Oh wait,
today.
no, sorry, no, that's your house party. Tara
Oh,
Moves, for anyone who's listening, is on Zora for 2 ETH. I meant
oh.
the Money Trees note
Oh, the
of the
money
wonderful
tree.
picture
Oh,
you have sent of yourself. Yes, yes. We are going to list this as well. This is a one of
oh
one
my
to
goodness.
celebrate your
A one of
appearance,
one.
to commemorate your wisdom shared on the show. And I just love, I'm still not the same way. I'm a little hesitant on DAOs for the most part. Audio on the blockchain has not hit for me yet. I still think
Mm.
distribution is very, very key. And I think that you shared a lot of gems today into bring this audio to the blockchain. I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me. But digital art, I love the way digital art looks on the blockchain. And so I take these notes and I immortalize everyone because as long as Ethereum's around, hopefully longer than me and all the guest lives will be, these episodes can be remembered and I can have all of these lovely faces collected in this collection of Money Trees notes and grow this garden. So I'm going to list your note on Zora as a one of one. But
Amazing.
also, if you are listening to this and the reserve has not been met, House Party NFT is available on Zora as a one of one. So, yes, if you could tell us the price for this Money Trees note, that would be
Oh
great.
my. What is the standard? Like point one ETH? Point
Okay, no,
Yeah.
it's like is that your final answer? Yes,
Yeah,
it's
I like a good
that's
point
perfect.
one.
That's perfect. The range has been there've been a couple of free ones. One has been donated to the Queer Museum, um, and there are some that are ranging in the millions because some of my guests would like me to make this the most popular talk show to ever come out of the blockchain
I
and
want
get
that.
people to spend. I'm welcoming the challenge. I said the guests name their price. If that's what the price is, that's what we run with. I just got to step it up, and not even step it up. I got to keep it up. I love of course I'm biased or whatever, but we're 57 episodes in and I
Yeah.
learn something every time. I have such like when you look at it, on the Zora, like on Zora, and you look at the collection, you see these faces. It's such a diverse, and not that diversity is anything outside of the fact that I love that I speak to so many unique people, and I don't mean diverse demographics. I mean diverse in thought,
Mhm.
diverse in careers, diverse in locations, and so yeah, and I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but I love it. I
Yeah.
love the show. Thank you for
I think
joining us today, by the way.
thank you for having me. I think it's amazing. I think that like there's so much potential in those spaces that are less explored, like audio NFTs, like restaurant NFT or food NFTs and fashion NFTs. And I think that it's so cool that you are like by entering this space and by creating this, you are like you're building that space, and that's really really cool. And I also just I love the documentation. I love the notes. I love the like 57. That's so amazing, and I got to listen through all of them because the amount of knowledge that I'm sure is dropped in these spaces is next level. And I also really resonate with like the documentation. Like that's really what I'm trying to do in moves with all these different people, and to see the different ways that that can happen is just really cool. Like because you're visualizing, and I don't know what the other word is, audio documenting
Yeah, no, I'm
all
here
these
for it. I'm here for it.
amazing people. So thank you, because that's such important work. Um,
It's ill because I really felt some of that same energy when I saw the house party piece, where I'm like, yo, we are just capturing some of these energies that people may have not seen. And for you, it's the movement of these amazing creatives and displaying it in a format that, is ideally new to you. And I think that that's fun. And it allows us to highlight you said it, these people, not only are you fans of them, but they're your friends. And being able to create with people you consider friends, that's in the tagline for this show.
mhm.
Examine how my friends grow in Web3 and beyond. Even though this is
Mm,
our first time speaking, I can already tell we would be great friends. I cannot wait to see you at NFT
yeah,
NYC,
I gotta make a
see your
moves piece of
visuals.
you.
Yo, I'm here for it. I can't dance though, so mine might have to be a little two step. I might have to be off in the corner, just like wallflowering it. But
I love
that's a
a two
convo for another day. Hey, okay, thank you. There it is. Because some people was getting down at house party, and I'm like, whoo. While I would love it, I don't know. They can't have this immortalized in my dance moves. No, I'm getting, I'm tangenting again. Tara, thank you so much for joining us today. I cannot wait to share this episode, and I believe that you have shared gems that will go on to improve the careers of who knows how many people.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really wonderful, and I really appreciate it. And
Your
I'm excited
energy
to
has
see what's
made the
next.
start of this week. Oh, I'm sorry, delay on Twitter again.
Oh no, just I'm excited. I'm excited to see your project keep growing, and meet you in New York. It's gonna be so fun.
It's
Very
gonna be
hectic, but so fun.
that's my thing. I'm like, okay, sleep won't happen, but it'll be fine. I'll get to see everyone. Because last NFT NYC was dope, but it's like you don't even go to the conference. It's just the
Yeah.
fact that everyone's in the city and you go to whatever pop ups are happening.
Are you gonna be doing a Money Trees pop up in New
Whew,
York? Is
okay,
that
alpha.
Alpha?
Yes. So there is, and I don't like. We haven't fully locked it in yet, but the idea is to do at least one in studio taping,
Mm.
potentially with a live audience of the Money
Ooh.
Trees episodes that would coincide with some of the NFT NYC days. And because I've always said this is a talk show, not a podcast. I
Mm.
distribute it on podcast platforms because that's where it's starting off at. But I
Mm-hmm.
explicitly knew from the jump this is meant to be a talk show. It is meant to be something that has a visual component, that has higher energy, and I think you're seen before you're heard nowadays anyway, which is why we have the Money Trees note in the art. And I work with these really ill artists, and I want to be able to display, like, I want to talk to you about these visuals and let people be able to see it at the same time and figure out
Mm-hmm.
what that looks like in this new format. So I'm adamant that it is a talk show, and I'm confident that NFT NYC will be the first iteration of adding the visual element into Money Trees. I have this crazy vision, and whatever. I'll plant the seed now. I want it to be like a garden, and that's gonna be, if you've ever seen Between Two Ferns with Zach
Mm-hmm.
Galifianakis, where it's a very basic set, but just the two fern set. I want to
Yeah.
have like a Zen garden with money trees all around
Money
it, where people can
Trees.
come in and visit. But here's
Yes.
my kicker, and here's the real alpha. So
Yes.
people don't know, if you've ever seen DJ Vlad, who's like this hip hop interviewer. Vlad is
Okay.
not actually in the room, and his interviews are mad popular because he always has the same background. He gets like crazy stuff from artists. People, I'm not gonna, I'm not, this is not an endorsement of Vlad, but I do love the fact that he's not in the room when he does these. So I love Twitter Spaces because you can just be wherever you're at. You need your phone and you can come on the show. My idea is to build a studio at my home base, wherever that is at the time when I can afford to build a studio, and then be able to pay for the guest to go to a studio in wherever their city is and have
Ooh.
them be on a green screen. And then be able to green screen the guest against whatever backdrop I have in my home studio so the guest can constantly visually be there. And not the, nothing against the way Zoom podcast happen, but it just doesn't hit for me. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't hit when you've got the webcam camera and it's like it just
Yeah.
feels like a Zoom to me and I
You're
don't
talking
like
to a
Zooms.
TV.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's that's not it for me. So I just want to add some production to it and yeah, it's funny. This is at the end of the episode. People that have been so lucky to listen to the gems you've shared on this get to the end of this. We'll see the seed grow. I'm also excited to see your projects grow. This has been fire. Yeah, again, I'm going to thank you again just because I am grateful for your appearance on the show. This has been a beautiful way for me to start my week. And yeah, I look forward to NFT NYC and seeing all the amazing creatives that will be there.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Later. Peace. Peace.
Later. Bye. Have a
Bye.
beautiful day.
You too, you too, you too. Peace out. We out of here.